Hey, good morning. Welcome to Gwinnett Church. We're really glad that you're here. My name's Shane, and I get to be a part of the team here. I work with our high schoolers in GCIO, which happens on Sunday nights. And as you saw in that video, the future is bright. We believe that about the next generation, but we also believe that for our church as a whole and for each and every single one of us. And we're going to celebrate that fact and also just come together and focus as we head into this new school year on what God is doing and what he has in store for the future. And that's going to happen during our night of worship this Thursday. So August 5th, this Thursday night, we hope to see you back here. We're having a night of worship, which this will be my first one personally, but I've heard that they're a bit of a tradition around here, especially as we launch into the school year. So our students will be right down here up front, and we hope to see you sitting in these very seats. As we come together to worship, to sing together, we're gonna get to hear from our lead pastor, and we're gonna come together to focus on what God has in store, because we believe that it is more than we could ever ask for or imagine. So that's this Thursday. We hope to see you there. And maybe you're brand new and you're in the room right now and you're like, I've never heard of a night of worship. It'll be my first one too, so we can do this thing together, okay? We would still love to see you. And if you are brand new, we would love to meet you today as well. You can find one of our guest service volunteers at any point this morning. They would love to say hey, but also give you a gift just for being here with us. And if you're watching online, we'd love the chance to meet you as well. You can text the word FORGWINNETT to the number 51255, and we'll send you a gift just for being here. We're so grateful that you chose to tune in and be a part of this morning. Now, we have a great morning plan. The future is bright, like within the next hour too. It's gonna be really, really great. We're gonna sing some songs together. We're gonna hear a message from our good friend, Clay Scroggins, and we just get to have these moments together with one another, which is really, really special. So if you would, go ahead and stand on your feet. Maybe give somebody an air high five, a side hug, whatever you're comfortable with. We are so glad that you're here at Gwinnett Church.
Good morning, Gwinnett. Come on, let's worship together today. And I've searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. A man's empty praise and treasures of fate are never enough. And you came along and put me back together, and every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Come on, there's nothing. Oh, there's nothing Time and time again, you have proven you'll do just what you say. Though the storms may come and the winds may blow, I'll remain steadfast and let my heart learn when you speak a word, it will come to pass. Come on, sing it out and say, great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting, same I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. Oh, great are you, Lord. Yeah. Sing it out with me and say, God, from age to age, though the earth may pass away, your word remains the same. Yeah. Your history can prove there's nothing you can do. You're faithful and true. Though the storms may come and the winds may blow, I'll remain steadfast and let my heart learn when you speak a word, it will come to pass. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great
love the lyrics of that song. It says, your history can prove there's nothing that you can't do. And I know that's true for my life, and I know that's true for your life. Today, we can believe that there's nothing that God can't do, that there's nothing that God hasn't already done or is currently doing, is going to do. He's always working things out. He's always on a mission for your good, for my good. And so today, we can just rest to know that our God has our future. He has the plan. If that's something you've walked in this morning carrying, I just want to give you the chance to let it all go. Right now, let's sing. In my mother's womb, you formed me with your hands, known and loved by you. Before I took a breath, when I doubted, Lord, remind me I'm wonderfully made. You're an artist and a potter. I'm the chemist and the clay. 'Cause He's working it out. You make all things work together for my future and for my good. You God, we thank you. We thank you that you didn't just stop at the cross. God, that you continue to provide, you continue to be a firm foundation to stand upon. God, you continue to be gracious, to be merciful, continue to be a friend when we're in need. We thank you that your word remains true. God, that you work for the good of those that love you and have been called according to your purpose. God, I'm believing that for this church today. I'm believing that for myself today, that it doesn't matter what we go through, what we walk through, God, that you will remain who you are today, tomorrow, forevermore. Thankful for that good news this morning. Thankful for Jesus. And it's in his name that we pray. Amen. Amen. Thank you guys for worshiping with us. You can go ahead and have a seat.
Some of us really believe that God works all things together for good. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, I got to see that play out in a real tangible way when thousands of life stories all converged in Daytona Beach. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had a high school camp in which we as Gwinnett Church took 223 high schoolers and 60 leaders to a week at the beach, but it was so much more than a week at the beach. In fact, I could tell you so many stories. I mean, it was just such an incredible time. There was little sleep. It was wild in every sense of the word, but it was so good. And God did so much. And instead of telling you those stories, because it might take me an entire week and y'all got to get to work tomorrow, I'd love to just show you a glimpse at what God did. Check this out. It was amazing. I'm telling you, that's not your grandma's summer camp. Y'all know that. Some of you went to summer camp and slept in like outside in tents and had a little tiny room to meet in. This was entirely different. That was my experience too, but getting to be together with all of our area churches and specifically with our GCIO, which GCIO is the high school ministry here at Gwinnett Church, with our GCIO students and leaders was a gift. God did so much. In fact, I want to tell you one story of a student named Daniel. Daniel is actually new to this area. He had just moved from Texas. His brother and his sister-in-law attend Gwinnett Church. They're friends of Heather and I. Heather's my wife. And when we knew Daniel was coming, we were hoping that something significant would happen in his life over that week. But just imagine this for a second. He moved from Texas here to senior year high school that he's heading into. He's going to a brand new school, trying to meet brand new people. And when his brother was like, hey, the church, they're taking a trip for a week in Daytona, he dove in. I mean, he was like, yeah. And for him, he actually shared this last week with some of our high schoolers. For him, he was like, yes, this is the opportunity for me to make friends. I'm starting a brand new school. It'd be nice to know some people before I get there. So he decided to dive in. And he dove in. He had an amazing week. I mean, he won a bunch of giveaways that we were doing on our Instagram. I'm not sure how. It felt like it was rigged. It wasn't, I promise. But some of you are like, what? Anyways, he had this incredible week. He was having fun. He had a smile on his face every time that I got to see him and talk with him. And then on night 3 of camp, something significant happened. Stuart Hall, who's another friend of Gwinnett Church, was speaking, and he gave students an opportunity to stand up at the end of his message if they wanted to, in front of thousands of people in this arena, declare, proclaim, and say out loud that they follow and trust in Jesus, that they believe that Jesus is who he says he is and that he's done what he said he's done. And on night 3 of camp, Daniel stood up. He stood up and he did that alongside his incredible small group leaders. And here's what's amazing about Daniel's story. Last Sunday night, when he was sharing this with some of his peers in GCIO, he said, I was hoping to go to Daytona to make some friends. That's what I was in for. In fact, he said that his connection with God, it didn't feel all that strong as he was moving from Texas here. He said, I was hoping to make some friends. And then he said, but what I wound up making was a best friend, and his name is Jesus. Yeah. That's why we do weeks like Daytona. I mean, it's a ton of fun. The ocean's there, like all of those things are great. But it's because of moments like the one that Daniel had. Because that moment, it doesn't just stay a moment at a week at the beach. It turns into a movement that begins to shape his life and his eternity for the better forever. In fact, when he got done telling his story last week, he looked at all the high schoolers that were watching him tell his story, and he said, hey, here's what I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you that it is worth it to prioritize your relationship with Jesus, that it should matter most to you. I mean, what an incredible story of how God is working in one person's life. But here's what else I know. I know God is moving and working in Daniel's life, but I also know that he's using the people standing next to Daniel in this picture as well. See, standing next to Daniel are small group leaders, Tim and Bennett, who decided to give a week of their year to go and hang out with a group of teenage guys in Daytona. But not just for that, to be able to be a part of moments like that, to be able to open their hearts and their hands and go, God, however you want to use me, I'm here. Just do what only you can. And they stepped into that. And they got to be a part of a moment in Daniel's life, but will continue to be a part of the movement that God is doing in his heart and his mind and his soul for weeks and years to come. I mean, our high school leaders have committed to walking with a group of high school students throughout their entire high school experience. It's an incredible, incredible commitment. But I can promise you that if you talked to Bennett or to Tim, they could tell you that God has done far more in their own lives than they ever would have asked for or imagined. And here's what I want to tell you this morning. In your seat back, there's a little card. And what this card represents is an opportunity for you to step into something like that, to step into the life of someone else and to see what God might do in and through your life. There's opportunities to serve all the way from the parking lot to a week at Daytona like those guys did. Next week, our elementary and our preschool environments, it's Promotion Sunday, and that means that there's gonna be a bunch of brand new kids entering Upstreet, which is our elementary environment, including one of my sons. Our second born is entering Upstreet. Our firstborn's already in there, and here's what I can tell you. They need you. We need you. My wife and I need your help. Walking alongside the lives of our kids, investing in them, saying the things that we know God wants and is saying to their hearts, maybe in a different way. Allowing God to use you in a way that might lead to a moment like that when they're in high school. So here's what I'd ask. If you have any interest at all, grab this card, fill it out at some point, hand it to a guest service volunteer on the way out. There's opportunities, like I said, from Wombaland all the way through production, guest services, and in transit, which is our middle school ministry, Upstreet Elementary, and GCIO, which is our high school ministry. But we would love for you to consider stepping into an opportunity to serve and seeing what God might do through you. And I also want to say thank you for those of you that are generous with your finances here as a part of Gwinnett Church. It's because of that weeks like what we had a couple weeks ago in Daytona are made possible. In fact, I talked to some of you specifically who actually gave in order for students to be able to come and go on that trip, and we are so grateful for your generosity. It creates environments like that, and it creates opportunities for God to connect with a student like Daniel in a way that might change everything for him for the better forever. So right now, we're actually gonna take a moment to give. You'll see the instructions up on the screen. If you're watching online, you'll see them there of how to text to give or how to give online. But if you'd like to give here in person, we'd love for you to catch one of our guest service volunteers and they'll direct you to the giving boxes that we have here on campus. Thank you so much again for being generous, for serving, and for being a part of Gwinnett Church.
Everybody, so good to see you. Thanks for that. That is awesome. For those of you that are like, well, what's the clap for? Who's this guy? I have had the privilege of serving at a number of our churches and got to serve here at North Point for a long time. And I was walking in today realizing this is the first time I've been back on a Sunday for a couple of years. It's been a nice break. Not from you. I'm kidding. No, God's been doing amazing things at our church called Buckhead Church, which is just south of here, and it's been fun to get to be there for the last couple of years. But certainly seeing all these faces, seeing all these people, just feel so much love and affection for you and miss you. And at Brownsbridge, we got to serve at Brownsbridge for a few years as well, and we have so many great friends, great family there. Gwinnett Church is with us today. Some of our partner churches are with us today. It's great to get to gather together again. Wow. That season of not getting to do this just made us all, you really realize how much you love getting together with people and getting to celebrate what we're singing about. And so I'm just really grateful to get to be here and so glad that you're with us. And I know we've got a bunch of people watching online today as well. So just to all of you, just want to say hello as well. This message today, I feel a little, I should feel more nervousness around standing on a stage, but I just enjoy it. I have fun with it. This message today feels a little heavier for me. It feels a little more challenging for me, and so I've carried more emotion around it because I'm going to share just a little bit of what God's been doing personally in our own lives, and then I'm going to hopefully turn the corner and talk about how this might apply to you because everybody's been in a season lately. Everybody's been in one of those times in life where you just question all the things, am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right place? Am I in the right job? Am I in the right career? Am I headed the right direction? And that's really what prompted this for me. About 3 years ago, I started wrestling through all of this, just mainly professionally, about am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Not a new question to life. Everybody asked that question. It was extra hard for me, though, because I started attending church here in 1998. So that was a long time ago. Some of you have been here since 1995 when our church started. But for me, I moved to Atlanta, Georgia to go to college. I went to school at Georgia Tech downtown. And when I say I went to school there, I was definitely enrolled the whole time I was there. But I wasn't always in class, and part of it, I don't know, I would always give my parents that story about Jesus when his parents lost him and then they found him and he was in the church, because that was kind of my story. I mean, I was in a fraternity and I was majoring in industrial and systems engineering and I was trying to do the school thing, but I had started getting to know this church. I'd started volunteering at this church, and so I was serving in so many different areas. I was telling the Bible story in Upstreet. I was serving as a small group leader for high school students. In our college ministry at that time, this was maybe 2000, 2001, we did this sitcom for college students. They shut that down pretty quickly. But for a while, it was kind of a thing. It was kind of an interesting deal. And I was one of the actors in the sitcom. I mean, that's how invested, that's how involved I was. I just absolutely love our church. And then beyond that, I mean, obviously Andy Stanley, if you're brand new today and you don't know any of this, Andy's the senior pastor of all these churches in the Atlanta area. And Andy's just been someone I've looked up to since then, for sure. I mean, I remember this may even seem, I don't know if it seems crazy or not, but for me at the time, I remember praying as I was thinking about my career and what I was supposed to do with my life. I remember praying, God, I want to work for someone like that. That's the kind of person that I want to spend more time around. And so my request to you, God, is would you allow me to get to spend more time with him. Give me the opportunity to get to be influenced more and more directly by him. And so I've experienced that over the last 18 years. I started working here. I graduated in 2004. I begged them. I said, hey, I promise you, I will never use this degree if you will give it to me. And so we made a deal, and I have stuck with it for sure. I moved to Dallas, Texas to go to seminary, but I quickly started working at our church. I was working with our student ministry teams, doing a lot of content and speaking, and it was just a dream come true. It was exactly what I wanted to do. Then I met this girl when I was in seminary. I was like, oh, hey. Truthfully, I was studying her more than I was studying theology. And we ended up getting married. My wife and I are so grateful to get to still be in love after 15 years, which is just a blessing. And we've got 5 little kids, 12-year-old all the way down to 3-year-old. Yes, we know how that happens. And we're just having a great time serving together, serving the local church together. I've served at a bunch of our churches in the Atlanta area. But over the past 3 years, I've been feeling this restlessness, which is always scary because you're like, what does this mean? What is God doing? What is he up to? And then to try to differentiate, is this God, or is this just life? Is just the way life works? Honestly, my emotions were kind of all over the map on it. About 6 months ago, I decided I'm gonna go talk to my bosses about this. And I began this conversation with them, with Andy and then my direct boss, who was Lane Jones. And the 3 of us had a number of conversations about this. And I got to the point where I made this, I don't know if it's courageous or crazy or dumb or wild or whatever, but about a couple of months ago, I made this decision to resign. And it felt incredibly scary. And it felt dumb in a lot of ways. I mean, particularly to my parents. When I was my dad's been great. I mean, he's made that transition in life, that you have to make as a parent to where you're just kind of a consultant, that's invited in when your adult child wants you to be invited in. And honestly, he doesn't offer much unsolicited advice, but this was one of those moments where he did. When I was telling him about some of this restlessness, he said, well, Clay, the only thing I'm gonna say is, you know this, right? You don't ever quit a job until you already have a job. And I was like, got it. That is good advice. But it's what I did. I went and said, hey, I've made this decision. I'm going to resign. My wife felt great about it. She felt better about it, honestly, than I did. She just felt like the time was right. And she just, it's been amazing to see, when you marry someone that believes in you and you realize it so distinctly and emphatically in seasons like this, it's just remarkable. But she would just tell me over and over again, you've got so many different gifts, you've got so many different talents and so many different things that you could do, and I believe in you, and it's gonna be great. And I would be like, really? Like what? Like name one. But I've realized in this season, I feel like she believes in me more than I believe in myself. And so we made this decision, not even really knowing what was on the other side. I feel like I needed to tell them, hey, this is the decision we've made. We haven't been looking, we haven't been dating, we haven't figured out what else is out there. We don't really know, so we're gonna take this next couple of months to try to figure that out. As far as I can tell, I think I'm gonna continue to preach and continue to do more speaking. I've written some leadership books, which has given me some opportunities to do some corporate speaking, which has been really exciting and invigorating, and I would imagine we'll do more of that in the future. But it's been scary, it's been sad, it's been hard, it's been challenging. And as I was thinking about it today, I thought, well, you all get this. Everybody's done this. Everybody's made a decision in life where you can't really see what's on the other side. Everybody's made a decision in life where it seems crazy, where you had to take a step out and you didn't even realize what was next. You know how this feels. It's a scary feeling. When we decided to tell our kids about this, we were headed somewhere, and we were in our van, and my wife had decided this was the moment. This was maybe 3 weekends ago. She said, this is the moment when we're gonna do it. She's like, this is gonna be best because everybody's facing forward. You don't have to make eye contact, which I thought that's really, that's a great parenting pro tip. When you're having a hard conversation, just let everybody face forward so you don't have to make the eye contact. So I say, hey kids, I got something I need to tell everybody. They all look up from their stuff. They're like, what's up? And I was like, well, I've decided I'm gonna change jobs. And they all immediately go, well, are we gonna move? And I'm like, well, I can't tell right now. I don't think so. Are we gonna have to change schools? Not to my knowledge just yet. Okay, so just that time when we don't see you, you're gonna be doing something different? Yeah. Okay, cool. Let us know if anything else, Dad. And they're just like right back to, That was the way 4 of them handled it. But my favorite child, our best child, our only child that I feel like has a hope in this world. The rest of them, the jury's still out, but this one I feel very confident in. She was crying. I mean, she was feeling it, just immediately. And her first response, it just crushed me. She looks at me and she goes, this is through the rearview mirror now. We are making eye contact at this point. She said, but you love your job. I said, oh my goodness, I do. I love my job. Well, then what are you doing? I'm like, that's a great question. What am I doing? So I try to tell her, try to explain. I'm like fumbling through it, and she's still crying. This is a couple minutes later, and I say, hey, tell me more. What are you feeling? Tell me about why does it still feel emotional? And she said, well, it sounds like you're quitting your job, and it sounds like you don't have one. And I'm like, okay. Listen, I'm getting this from everyone. I do not need this from you right now, okay? So I will let you know when things change. No, I was like, yeah, it's true. It's true. That is exactly right. It's been a grieving process. I had about a month ago after we had made this decision, my wife and I had been talking about it. She kept telling me, you need to cry. You need to cry. I'm not, I am an emotional guy, but I'm not always a big crier. And so I hadn't cried about this. And so we had this one night, we were talking about it, and I just lost it. I'm like weeping for like an hour, just all the gratitude that I feel over the last 20 years and how much I love our church and how much I love what I do and the uncertainty and the anxiety and the stress and the worry and the concern and could this really be right, all the indecision, all that stuff. And she's just over there just kind of patting me on the back, just kind of smiling. Like she was patronizing me. Like she was like, yeah, come on, get it out. This is good. And so I had to look at her and be like, hey, I know you're trying to care for me right now, but this is really irritating me because you seem happy that I'm crying, She's like, no, it's just good. I think you need to do this. It's cathartic, it's therapeutic, all that stuff. So as I've been wrestling through all of this, the thing that I feel like God has helped me with more than anything else is trying to figure out how do you keep your soul sane in seasons of change. And that's what I've titled this message today, is keeping your soul sane in seasons of change. You're maybe in the middle of one, maybe you're gonna go through one, you've gone through a lot before, but this is the time when, if there is an evil one, I believe there is. I believe that life is, a lot more like Star Wars than we might think, where there's a light side and there's a dark side and there is good and there is evil. Jesus talked about it a ton. If there is an evil one, the evil one's plan in a season like this is to create loads of disruption, is to create loads of questions, to use that uncertainty to cause us to do something that we would really regret, to cause us to do something that would really cause harm to ourselves, to others around us. And learning how to let God lead us to keep our soul sane in seasons of change is so crucial. And I understand that the word sane is usually, we usually reserve that word for our thoughts, the mental side of life. But it's more than just that for me in this season, because, in those seasons of indecision, you can't differentiate your emotions from your thoughts and your thoughts from your emotions. They're just all mixed in there together. But I like the idea of our soul staying sane, that it's in its right mind, it's in the right place, it's steady, it's sturdy, it's able to persevere, able to keep moving forward. And so how do we do that? How do we keep our soul sane in seasons of change? I've been reading through, I feel like I'm always on some kind of reading plan with some friends or people in my small group. And so I've been reading through Psalms. And during this season, about 2 or 3 months ago, I got to the point where I got to Psalm 23, which is one of the most famous Psalms in all of what David wrote. And God has just used Psalm 23 in so many different ways. And so what I want to do for the remainder of our time is I really just want to walk through Psalm 23, because this is all about our soul. This is all about how do we stay healthy? How do we stay in a place of where we're in our right mind, even though everything around us may seem like it's swirling and there's question marks and there's concerns and there's questions about where we're headed and what we're doing. I think Psalm 23 is perfect for a season like this. A lot of times we read it at funerals. Maybe your grandmother had it crocheted on some kind of note that was or some kind of fabric that was hanging in her house. But I want us to look at it today, and I would love for you to look at it with me. And so if you have a Bible, you can turn to Psalm 23. Or if you have any kind of technology with you, I'd love for you to open up your Bible app. There's a Bible app that's real easy to download. If you're not familiar with it, just go to the App Store and whatever you use and type in Bible. But I'd love for you to pull it up. I'd love for us to do this all together. I'd love for this to be we're just going to have a Bible study for the next few minutes, walking through Psalm 23. So here's the way we're going to do this. I'm just going to read it. I'm going to read it all together, and then we'll go back through it verse by verse. But here's what David wrote. Psalm 23, a psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. And surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This opening line of this psalm has just been monumental to me. That the Lord is my shepherd. In seasons of change, one of the things that I've learned over the past couple of months, more than any other time in my life, is that one of the most important things we can do is to remind ourselves of who we are. Our identity gets questioned. We start getting confused about what I do, and what I do sometimes it overshadows who I am. And in seasons like this, we have to remind ourselves, well, who am I? And the best way to understand who am I is in context with who God is. And the best way to understand who I am is not only in context with who he is, but in who he says that I am. And so David begins this song, this piece of poetry, by saying, the Lord is my shepherd. He's not just any other shepherd. He's not just a shepherd. He's not just the shepherd. He is my shepherd. There is a personal nature to this relationship that we can have with God. And if you've never experienced that before, I just want to invite you to continue to plug in to our church. I think it's one of the things that our church does so well, is that we don't talk a lot about religion. We talk a lot about relationship. We're not really big fans of religion, but we are big fans of Jesus. And we're big fans of the opportunity that we have to have a personal relationship with him, that the Lord is Jehovah, the Lord, that he is my shepherd. Now, why does David describe God like a shepherd? Well, because he's hearkening back to that season of his life where he shepherded, where he was a shepherd. David did this. This was his profession. Before he got anointed, called out to be the king, he was a shepherd. And so he got this. Now, this is a little harder for us because, show of hands, how many of you have ever shepherded sheep before? Yeah, right? None of us really have. And so this is new to us. We got to do a lot of reading, a lot of research, there's a lot we got to understand about what does it mean to be a shepherd. Well, the shepherd is responsible for the sheep. The shepherd leads the sheep. The shepherd guides the sheep. The shepherd takes care of the sheep. And a good shepherd does it with love and kindness and loyalty, with intentionality, very skilled in the way that the shepherd leads these sheep. And so if the Lord is like a shepherd, if he is my shepherd, well, who does that make us? The sheep, right. And what's the main adjective we know about sheep? Anyone? They're dumb. Thank you. Yeah, I said it, excuse me, but you're the one who brought it up. But yeah, they're dumb. I mean, that's kind of what we know. I mean, they're fluffy, they're soft, all that, yeah. But they've got great shanks, right? But they're dumb. Sheep are dumb. That's kind of what we know about them. And some of you maybe get offended by that. You're like, oh, is God calling me dumb? If I'm a sheep, I'm like a smart sheep. I'm like a gifted sheep, I'm an honor roll kind of sheep. All right, maybe you are. Maybe you're one of the smarter ones, but you don't have to live long to know that people do dumb things. It's a lot easier to see in other people, but we are all capable of it. We are all capable of making a pretty big mess of life. And we need a shepherd. We need someone that we can look to, someone that we can look for, someone that we can hope in, someone that can be our guide, someone that can lead us. And if the Lord is my shepherd, well, then this one's an implication of that, the second half of this verse. Well, then if he's the good shepherd, if he has everything we need, if we're just to lock eyes on him, we can't figure it out, but we just follow him, he's got it, then what does that mean for us? It means we lack nothing. This is a little phrase that I have just had ringing through my head over the last couple of months. I lack nothing. I lack nothing. There is nothing that I lack. And that's so important because it runs contrary to how I feel. I feel like I lack a lot. I have a lot of lack. I actually feel pretty good about the amount that I lack. I'm not worried about needing to lack more. I'm comfortable with the amount that I currently lack. Maybe you are too. Maybe you lack a relationship with someone, or maybe you lack a job or a certain amount of money, or maybe you lack some kind of circumstantial thing outside of you. The worst is when you look inside and realize that you feel there's something inside that you lack. I feel like I lack courage. I feel like I lack clarity. I feel like at times I lack confidence. And to realize that if I just follow the shepherd, he's got everything that I need. And if I don't have it now, it means that he hasn't given it to me yet because maybe he thinks I don't need it yet, but when the moment comes, he will give it to me. That's quite hopeful. That the Lord is my shepherd and I lack nothing. And so he makes us do some things. He leads us some places. He helps us with some things. Verse 2, the first one is this, that he makes me lie down in green pastures. I don't know how that sounds to you. For me, that's not all that appealing. I'm not really an outdoors kind of guy, so I'm not like looking to go find some beautiful, like Austrian Sound of Music type green pasture to just go lay in. But he wants us to. Why? Well, because he wants us to rest. He wants us to depend on him. He wants us to enjoy the journey, to enjoy what he's created. It's so interesting to me that he makes me lie down in green pastures. Some of you are like, he does not need to make me do that. I will happily do that. And others of you are like, no. It's going to take him making me. I don't know why he has to make us though. Why can't we just go, okay, well, if you've got this, then I'm going to relax. I'm going to be a non-anxious presence in this world. I'm going to lay down in a green pasture from time to time and just trust that you've got this. And then he leads me beside quiet waters. He restores us. He meets our needs. He takes care of us. He gives us that thing that we actually need to be able to be replenished. He replenishes us and he refreshes us. Look at verse 3. He refreshes my soul. I love that he refreshes our soul. How does your soul feel right now? I'm not gonna like smile and pat you on the back and be like, no, come on, get it out, this is good. Like, I'm not gonna do that. But how does your soul feel? Does your soul feel tired? Does it feel weary? Does it feel heavy? Does it feel empty? Does it feel like it's in need? If it does, saddle up with him. Look to him. He wants to refresh your soul. This is not like a marketing concept from Massage Envy. No, this is something that God promises, and he can do it because he made your soul. He designed you. He created you. He authored your life, is authoring your life. And he wants your soul to stay healthy. Nobody can keep your soul healthy for you. You've got to decide. You know, people feel the state of your soul. You know, Boston says that you're more than a feeling. You know that? Which you are. I mean, you are more than a feeling. But at times, you're just a feeling. The people feel you. They feel your presence. And what they feel usually is determined by the state of your soul. How is your soul doing? And if your soul feels in need, look to the shepherd. The shepherd wants to refresh your soul. And then verse 3 continues that he guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. He guides me along the right paths. Now, I don't know exactly what this means in regard to every single decision that we have to make. Do you ever wrestle through, you know, is every decision like a godly decision, a decision that's gonna get us out of God's plan for our life? You know, every decision is like, oh my goodness, I should pray about it and fast about it and think about it and get counsel about it. You know, where should we eat tonight? Of course, those are the little ones, but what about the big ones? Like, should I take this job? Should I go to this school? Should I date this person? See, I'm more of the, I don't know, my relationship with God has always been a little bit more along the lines that he gives the freedom for us to choose. That he's made a few things really clear. He said a few things like, hey, here's the way I want you to live. But as long as it fits within that you are loving others well, that you're loving yourself well, that you're taking care of other people, that you're doing this for the right motive, his namesake is a really good motive, that his glory, his goodness, that people would see him as great in the decisions that we make. But as long as we're doing that, I think there's a freedom to be able to choose, but there are times, it seems, where he guides us. I think about like a GPS system, you know? We've become so dependent on it. I put in the address that I'm going everywhere I'm going. I don't care if I'm 5 minutes away because I just want to know, is this the right way to go? Is there a road that's closed? There's traffic somewhere, something shut down? And the idea that God guides us, that he leads us, that he wants to personally guide us is remarkable. He does this through his Spirit that lives inside of us. We don't talk a lot about the Spirit. God the Father is a little easier to understand. God the Shepherd, that Jesus the Savior. But this third part of the Trinity is the Spirit of God, the Holy Ghost that lives inside of us for those who have chosen to follow him. You remember there was a day where Jesus was leaving. I mean, he had died on a cross. He had been resurrected. I mean, people at this point were like all in. They were not all in around the crucifixion. But after the resurrection, there was a group of people that were like, this is my guy. Whatever you say goes. And they were just begging him like, please don't leave. Please don't leave. Like, stay. Like, we could do some stuff knowing that you got that kind of power. And he goes, no, I'm actually leaving. And they're like, I'm sorry, what? He's like, yeah, I'm leaving. But he said, but it's better for me that I leave. Why? Well, because if I leave, I will send you my Spirit that will live inside of you, and he will be a guide. He will guide you. This idea is like we're taking a walk with God, but it's even better than that. We're not just on a walk with God. No, God is living in those of you who've put your faith in Jesus. He's in you. It's better than a GPS system. He guides us. And then verse 4 is this famous verse that, I don't know, some of you were like, oh, I've heard this before. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, or as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, some of you are like, oh, got it now. So David got this from Coolio. Dangerous Minds, I don't know if you remember that movie. Coolio had this song called Gangsta's Paradise. As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Coolio, just to be clear though, David didn't get this from Coolio. Coolio did get this from David, okay? So David was the originator of this line. But the idea that there is this shadow, that there is this dark season, a dark valley that feels like a shadow. You know, sometimes shadows feel scarier than the actual thing. You know what a valley is, right? Where a valley is that place between two mountains. You've got a mountain over here and a mountain over here, and then down here in the bottom, you're in the valley. Well, given the choice, where does everybody want to be? Everybody wants to be on the mountain. The mountain is way better than being in the valley. Being on top is where we feel like we were meant to be. We were made to be. We love it up there, and it feels so clear that God is with me on the mountain. Of course. We see this right now in this season that we're in with the Olympics, where You know, you get these podiums that are actually designed like mountains, you know? And you got 3 people on a podium. It's always interesting to me as you watch it because you're like, 2 of these people are pumped and somebody up there is not feeling it. You know who the one who's not feeling it? It's that silver medalist. I mean, the gold medalist is like, yeah, I made it. All that hard work, I did it. Thank God, to him be the glory. He's with me. He's so good. He's great. He's awesome. He's amazing. You should try him. Maybe he'll bring you some gold medals. But it's been pretty remarkable. The bronze is like, I can't believe I slid in here. I mean, I was almost 4th. I mean, if I was 4th, I would be just out there like just putting on my clothes, but I'm out here. This is crazy. I mean, like a bronze and a gold, you can hardly tell the color difference, you know? And so I'm gonna be like holding this thing around being like, what's up, you know? But the silver is over here just being like, I can't believe it. I mean, like 1/10 of a second, and instead I'm a loser. And everybody knows 2nd place is for losers. Like I didn't go through all this to be in 2nd place. I don't care what people are trying to say, like, oh, well, it's a gold in my heart. No, well, it's like a silver, you know, because it's pretty clear. Everybody just, it's kind of hard to watch a little bit because you're like, hey, this silver's like solid. Like you should just enjoy that. But it's so hard to because we want to be on the mountain. We want to be up top because it feels like God is closest to us up there. And this is remarkable that David says, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil because you are with me. God is with us in the valley. He's not just with us on the mountain, but he is with us in the valley. That is such great news. Which is why he says, even though I walk, he says you have to walk through the valley. The temptation that I have, that so many maybe of you have as well, is I'm so tempted to try to walk through the green pastures and try to lie down in the valley. He says, don't do it that way. No, I've made you, I've created you, but it doesn't mean that it's gonna be easy. There are gonna be times where it feels like a valley and you have to go through it. You have to walk through the valley. You have to go through the valley. The only way to get to where you're trying to go is to go through a valley. And so if you're in a season where it feels dark or it feels like the shadow of fear is looming large, if it feels like there's more to be afraid of than there is to hope for, I'm just encouraging you to keep moving, keep walking. He's with you. Don't walk through the green pasture and lie down in the valley. No, we lay down in the green pasture and walk, keep moving through the valley. He's got something for you on the other side, but you have to walk through the valley. This idea that I will fear no evil because you're with me, this is all over the activity of God. This is what he does. We see this in so many other places. Do you remember when Jesus' disciples, his followers, they were on a boat and the boat was, they were sleeping and they were feeling good, and then they were looking out because they heard something, and they look out on the water, and what do they see? They see this, they thought it was a ghost, which rightfully so. It was a human being. It was like a figure of a human walking on the water. Do you remember this? And then they realized, oh my goodness, who is that? Is that Jesus? I can't tell. And they were scared to death. They thought they were being attacked. They thought, like, is this a pirate? Like, who knows? And Jesus looks at them and he says this same thing. He says, take courage, it is I. Do not fear. You're tempted to fear, but don't fear because it's me. I am, the I am is here. And this is what David's saying. He's saying that I will fear no evil because the I am is with me. And so Peter does the craziest thing. Peter says, well, Jesus, if this is real, then let me get to walk out on the water too. And Jesus says, Peter, come on out. And so Peter does the unthinkable. It was safe in the boat, but he gets out of his comfort zone and gets out onto the water and takes a couple of steps on the water because he believed that the I am is with me. I don't know the way this is gonna go, but I'm just gonna keep my eyes on the shepherd. I'm gonna keep my eyes on the one who's with me, the one who says, hey, I've got you. And we throw a lot of shade on Peter because we're like, oh, but he took his eyes off Jesus and then he drowned, almost drowned. Jesus had to save him. Who cares? Of course, he couldn't make it on his own, but he had the courage to get out of the boat. Maybe that same season of comfort has been what you've experienced, and maybe God's just going, hey, I just want you to get out of the boat. Come on, I got you. I am the I am. I'm with you. You don't have to fear all the evil that's around you. Come on, follow me. I got you. Everybody else is telling you it's crazy, but you just keep your eyes on him. Remember that the I am is with you. And then verse 4 says that your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Now, I don't know a lot about shepherding, okay, but I've read about this. The rod is what the shepherd used to beat off anything that was harmful, that was coming the way of the sheep. So it represents the power of God, that he's all powerful. His staff represents his grace to be able to guide even when we make mistakes, even when we take the wrong step. Even like Peter, when we make the mistake of taking our eyes off of him, his staff is what helps us back up again. And your rod and your staff, they bring me comfort that I know I don't have the ability to do this, but you do. Then he says, and so he does the unthinkable. David says, and so you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You do this lavish meal where you feed me, you provide for me, and you do it in the presence of my enemies. It's like God's talking smack to all of our enemies. David had real enemies. I mean, he had people that were chasing him, people that were trying to kill him. An enemy is really anything or anyone that's trying to take life from you. Jesus came that you might have abundant life to the full. So what are the enemies you're facing? Maybe it's shame, or maybe it's guilt, or maybe it's uncertainty. Maybe it's loneliness, maybe it's inadequacy. But whatever that enemy is, David says that this God is so powerful, and he's so good, and he's so confident, and he's so secure that he creates this table. He prepares a table with this beautiful meal, and he does it right there in front of the shame. Lets the shame know, hey, this one's mine. Lets the loneliness know, this one's mine. This one's with me. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Evidently, when sheep would get their head stuck in some thorns or something, they'd cut their head, and the oil is what the shepherd would use to comfort, take care of the sheep. You're not gonna get it right. I'm not gonna get it right. But he's got oil for us even when we mess up. He's gonna bandage our wounds. He's gonna take care of us. My cup, it overflows. I'm kind of looking at it being like, I don't know, it seems half full, at best, probably half empty. But the shepherd's going, no, your cup's overflowing because you have me. And then surely, verse 6, surely, I love this word, surely. It's not hopefully, it's not like, well, if it all goes well. No, it is surely, beyond a shadow of a doubt. These two, I read a commentator who called them sheepdogs. These two sheepdogs, goodness and love, are gonna follow me all the days of my life. You know what these sheepdogs do? They're these herding dogs that make sure the pack's all together, that nobody's getting out, that nothing's getting in, that everybody's staying with the crew, keeping their eyes on the shepherd. That's what goodness and love do. They just remind us that he is good. He is good. He does love me. He is for me. He knows what's best for me. Don't believe the lie that he's left me out here alone. No, goodness, your love, they're gonna follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This signifies this relationship that's in front of us, that I could dwell with you, I could be with you, I could be one with you forever. Is it gonna go well for us? I don't know. That's not really even the point. Is it gonna go well for you? It might. You might be on the cusp of the next Amazon or Bitcoin. I don't know. You might be on the cusp of something that you have no idea of, or you might be on the cusp of total failure. But it doesn't really matter if you have the shepherd. He's the one that wants to lead us in the good times and in the bad times, in the fun times and in the hard times. So the real question is he your shepherd? Can you call him my shepherd? I don't know how I would have been able to do this season without knowing him as my shepherd. I know we're not going to be able to do the next season if I don't have him as my shepherd. Is he your shepherd? Can you call him my shepherd? He wants to be. He's inviting you to call him that. I read the story, a friend told me the story a month or so ago that I've really hung on to, but it's about Mother Teresa. There was a guy that went and served with Mother Teresa for a couple of months and finally got the opportunity to have a personal conversation with her. He said, Mother Teresa, I would really like to ask you to pray for me. And she said, absolutely. What can I pray for you about? He said, well, I have a lot of hard decisions in front of me and I need clarity. And Mother Teresa said, that's pretty common. A lot of people ask for clarity. But I'll just tell you, my experience is I've never gotten clarity. But I will pray that the Father allows you to continue to trust. And that's where we've been in this season. Just hoping for clarity, hoping for clear answers, hoping to be able to see the picture, to be able to see the future. But the shepherd is just going, I'm not going to show it to you. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. And that's not even what this is about. I just want you to trust me. Just follow me. So Heavenly Father, I pray that today that loads of people today would be able to trust you. That they'd be able to trust you as the good shepherd. God, for some people that know you as the good shepherd, that maybe today would be a day where they're just reminded to keep their eyes on you. And God, there's some people who've never known you as that. They've never known you as one that leads us that personally, that guides us that lovingly, that gives us that much kindness and mercy and grace, that has the power of the rod and the grace of the staff. So Father, I pray that today would be a significant day for all of us as we try to embody what it means to live out Psalm 23, that the Lord is my shepherd, and that you would remind us in comfort, in truth, that I lack nothing. There's nothing I don't have as long as I have you. God, you're leading all of us. You're guiding all of us, but I just pray that today that we would fix our eyes, no matter what the future holds, whatever is on the other side, even if we can't see it, that we would wholeheartedly, as best as we can, as much as we can, trust you, the good shepherd. In the valley, on the mountain, through it all, for your name's sake. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Well, Gwinnett Church, we want to thank you guys so much for being here with us on this Sunday. If you do have questions about what it looks like to follow Jesus as the good shepherd, you can come and talk to me afterwards. You can find somebody with a name tag. They'd love to point you in the right direction and help you to take that step. Or you can go to our habits page on the website and you can learn how to take steps to learn how to actually follow Jesus and to allow him to lead you as a good shepherd. Now, if you filled out one of those cards to get involved in serving around Gwinnett Church, you can drop those off at the door on the way out. And we hope to see you on Thursday for our night of worship, as we're going to get ourselves spiritually ready. We're going to pray together. We're going to sing some worship songs. I'm going to talk to us for a little bit and hopefully get us all in the right mindset for this school year. So we love you guys. We can't wait to see you on Thursday, and then next Sunday, starting a brand new series with our teaching pastor, Andy Stanley. Y'all have a great week.